Hi, everybody. What is it? September 23rd, 2024. Another day in our new world with a new order. It's here. And yes, unfortunately, not only the United States, but other Western countries, we will never go back. Going back? Nope, that's gone. We don't even have the choice. Full speed ahead. New World Order. I'm not liking it so far. How are you guys liking it? Okay. Hi, Angelos, Alicia, Analog Synth Player, Geofactor 3, Sandra, hello. Miss Blanche, hello. Andrew Cruz, Tony Punch, hello. I actually felt like hell today, Tony. I think it's just a combination of stress and frequencies and just life itself for many of us has turned, I was going to say deadly, but deadly and dangerous. And I don't like it, but this is what I have. I think a lot of you have as well. Oh my God. Geofactor 3. You have an apartment, so you're not moving every few days, thank God, because moving is not good. It does a number on your physical health, your mental health, all health, every aspect of it. But unfortunately, so does financial stress. And your rent is 71% of your monthly Social Security. I so wish we could just start something where we could just be donating small amounts, every so, and help one another out, I would need help to do it, but it's throughout the years, I haven't found anyone trustworthy that actually, wanted to do it. So trust is so important. It is so vital, especially when everything just starts going down and everyone is having a hard time. That's when it becomes vital. All right. I'm glad you found a place, but I'm not happy that it's going to be a financial stressor. Justin Wynn, hello. You're feeling stressed tonight. Maybe we should just have a stress out for a live stream. People can come in and talk about how they're feeling. We've got to get it out. That's another thing that really makes us sick. Holding everything in, trying to pretend that you're okay, got it all together, when hardly anybody has it together. I understand that because it's the way we roll here in America. That is such an unhealthy path for everyone to take. But a whole lot of people are afraid of judgment for good reason, because Americans can be very judgmental and then knock you down further. Ah, okay. So, who else is in? L24. Hello, thank you. Okay. Thanks for dropping the links. Amber Eyes, Barb in Ohio, Kim Blanchard, Patricia White, Oracle 11, Julie, Mark Anthony. I think a lot of people will look at the brat. He says, hello, brat, and sometimes goodbye, brat. I find it endearing. So don't. Somebody did get on Mark Anthony's case about calling me a brat. I think it's more endearing than it's, like a punch. I don't find it that way. So, hey, Mark. And Joe and Sheepdog Patriot and BMCC and Bella and Tonette. Hi, everybody. Steve Ladner. Hypocrites Matrix. Linda Gordon. Silent Walk. Sea Angel Girl. Ain't buying it. I've always taken it that way, Mark. So, anyway. All right. So, full speed ahead, man. Full speed ahead. This New World Order, this one world government, all of these agendas, they are moving everything along. The wars, more bombs dropping. All right, let's take a look at radar. Relatively calm in a whole lot of places tonight. But you've got some supercell activation here in Kentucky, as well in Illinois, and that doesn't look all that bad. I mean, it can be bad. I shouldn't say that. It just doesn't look all that bad. But you know what they can do. We all know what they can do. Wow, Florida. You're getting a break. I guess they're, oh, shoot. I did it again, man. I'm so, sorry. Now, let me share radar. Okay. So now you see what I was talking about. All right. And Florida, well, the hurricane does not look good. Doesn't look good for Georgia, panhandle of Florida. But I guess they've given you a wee break from all of the precipitation that you have been getting. Let's give, oh, hang on for 1 second. I gotcha. Oh, okay. I didn't realize I had the bedroom door open, and little one came in, and they're not to go out into the main house. And it's not in a mean way. There's a lot of stuff out there. So, but I just saw a little one go out the door, so I had to get him. Okay. So, yeah. All right. I don't think we have any severe weather alerts. We do have these extremely low frequencies. Yeah, blasting away again and again and again. Yeah. All right, let's take a look. 0 active severe weather warnings. Okay, and no tornado alerts. But let's take a look at what's going to be coming in. All right. We'll start at, well, let's go back a little. So it looks like you have quite a bit of rain, from Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, North Georgia, some in South Carolina on up. And this is at noon on the 25th. And here it comes. Yes. Hitting Cuba, but missing it quite a bit. This is now 6 p.m. on the 25th. Coming on up. It's breaking up, right? Okay. But they put it together again. So here you have a massive amount of rain off the coast of Florida. And this is the 26th at 6 a.m. And there you go. So this is the hurricane. A whole lot of it. The severe thunderstorm part breaks off, looking like it's in pieces. This is at 12 noon on the 26th, Thursday. And get ready, because 6 p.m. on the 26th, this is Georgia. The Panhandle in Georgia are going to be feeling it first. But it still has to make landfall, right? And it does. They pull it all together and increase the strength of it by the 27th at midnight. Not a good time. But that does seem to be the severe weather, hurricane, fire time. Let's start it all when most people are sleeping. All right, so this is not looking pretty for especially the Panhandle and southern Georgia. And there it goes. The strength of it. The strength of this hurricane inland Georgia. Okay? It doesn't weaken. How hurricanes used to weaken when they made landfall? Not anymore. Not anymore. So, you guys in Georgia, be very careful. Midnight, Friday. Well, yeah. Be very careful. And you Floridians. Still, you have an awful lot. And again, tornadic activity with hurricanes is now the new normal. But this is still in Georgia, into South Carolina, coming on up into North Carolina. You've got a lot of severe weather also in Alabama, but this is mighty. This is powerful. This is dangerous. Based on what I'm seeing on the forecast, upstate South Carolina, be very careful. Then right on into North Carolina, West North Carolina, still traveling on up into Virginia, and then finally it weakens. This is not how Mother Nature did her hurricanes, but this is how man is doing it. Be very careful. Be very careful. I will put the forecast model link in. Because forecasts do change. So keep abreast of what's going on. Certainly the alert, severe weather alert site, and radar. There you go. All right, so I actually didn't have much time to go over everything that is going on in our fabulous world, but I want to thank Mama Rages for sending this along. Big dairy farm, the biggest dairy farm in Ashtabula County in Ohio. Here we go. No sound. No sound on the video? Can you hear me? What the hell is going on? Did I not? Let me do this again. Let's see. Okay, I hope I fixed it. Let's see.
With a breaking news alert.
Breaking as we come on the air, a massive fire, one of the largest dairy farms in the state. Good evening, I'm Caitlin McCarthy. Michelle Nix has the breaking details from Ashtabula County.
Good evening, Caitlin. As you said, we are here in Ashtabula County on Allencamp Road in Dorset Township, where a wildfire is spreading to multiple barns.
Okay. Thank you, Alicia.
There's also a silo here on this farm that's involved. It's the Comp Dairy Farm. Now, it is one of the largest dairy farms in all of Ohio. It's family operated since 1885. The sheriff tells us 3/4 of their emergency services are here on the scene. So obviously a large emergency presence. There are 2,000 cows on this farm. And earlier we were able to get some pictures when it was a little lighter outside, where you can see that there is a massive fire and the smoke is just billowing for miles. They are still working on that fire. It's been a number of hours now. We are working to learn more details. As far as we know, no one has been injured at this point. And we do know that they take precautions to try and get all of the animals out, but we don't know if any didn't make it out at this point. Reporting in Ashtabula County, Michelle Nix.
I want to see if there's all cows safe after massive fire. So, yeah. Another food source up in flames. But I want to hear if they have any updates on this dairy farm, it looked like a very big fire.
Thank you. Now we want to get back to that massive dairy farm fire. As you mentioned, several cows died, but thankfully no people were hurt. The community, though, is now coming.
Several cows died. All cows safe. Is there a discrepancy there? Okay.
Coming together to help. 19's Vic Gideon is in Dorset Township in Ashtabula County with a look at what's next for this farm.
The milking parlor and another barn destroyed. So getting the cows off the property and to other farms so they could be milked is the priority. Last night, however, it was a different priority.
Mutual Aid to Dorset on working barn fire, 3015 Allen Comp Road.
The call came in 7:30 Sunday evening, and it didn't take long to understand the magnitude of the fire.
We have multiple barns on fire at this point.
This all happened at the Comp Dairy Farm just south of Jefferson and east of Route 11, one of the largest dairy farms in Ohio, family operated since 1885, with about 2,000 cows.
They've been trucking cows all over, farmers that were able to accept some additional dairies. They have milking parlors that are working, able to milk the cows, which is critical to help them stay healthy.
About 3/4 of Ashtabula County's emergency services on the scene. Crews containing the fire in a couple hours.
We have water flowing right now. We're ready for tankers.
Just really happy to see so many people coming together and working hard to support one another.
The family is currently working to find temporary homes for the rest of the cows, as many as a few hundred.
That dairy farm is going to be out of business for a little while, right? And I saw this at the end of the other video. Middlefield makes watering lawns a misdemeanor during drought. This is Ohio.
Okay, Sam, thank you. Now at 3, we're really seeing the impact of the just very little rain that we've had. In fact, if you water your lawn in Middlefield, you could get busted. It's a misdemeanor right now. The village has put a mandatory water conservation measure in place. Our Aria Janelle tells us how long this mandate to save water could last.
On Monday morning, Middlefield Chief and Director of Streets and Utilities Joe Tukolsky cranked up his car, started looking for people who are using too much water.
We started driving around on Thursday asking people to do the best they can to conserve.
Just last week, the village passed a mandatory water conservation moratorium, meaning the people in the village, including businesses, can only use water for essential needs.
I've been here since 1999. We'd never had to take any type of water conservation measures.
According to the village, there are a list of things that you can't do for at most the next 6 months, including washing your car, watering plants, and filling up swimming pools. The chief says the Ladue Reservoir is a physical reminder of why conserving this water is so important.
You can see there's actually more land showing in that lake than there is water. That's how low it is, and I've never seen it that low.
According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, Geauga County is abnormally dry, and the village says they want to be proactive before their shade of yellow turns to red like the people in Tuscarawas. In order to do that, they're asking that you and all businesses wait to do laundry until you have a full load, fix any leaks that you might have, and turn off your faucets when you're not using them. And if you don't do your part, you could face a minor misdemeanor.
Some of these people with some of the new lawns, they had 2 or 3 sprinklers going at a time. So stopping and letting them know that we need to conserve as much as possible. And like I said, they've been very cooperative.
But how long could this last? The moratorium says at most 6 months, but the chief says they're looking for a few things specifically to happen.
Long-lasting rains, as long as it replenishes the aquifer and we start to gain inches in the wells, then we can, reduce the legislation. We also have another well coming online. So when all that happens, we're guessing within the next month or so, we should be able to stop conserving.
Waiting.
Okay, well, there's a lot you can say about that, right? Agenda 2030 and drought. Well, could you look at the sky, please? Notice how different it is. Do some research on weather modification, how man can create drought, how man can literally pull up the water vapor, humidity from lakes and reduce the amount of surface water. And then we have primary water. But no, people will just listen to mainstream media and believe it. Now, I'm not saying that that guy's a liar. He probably doesn't even know that all of this is created not by climate change, but by man. Crews battle commercial fire in Sawtell. Okay, there's a lot of buildings going up in flames, a lot of abandoned buildings going up in flames, a lot in California.
Still some active flame on the roof. LA City firefighters from...
We are following some breaking news. Firefighters are on the scene of a large fire at an abandoned building. Assignment manager Mark Liu live at the desk with the details. Mark, this looks like a big fire.
It is. This is a big building, 53,000 square feet, according to the LA City Fire Department. And this building has burned before, but today the damage is very severe. SkyCal is live overhead right now. What you're seeing here is the intersection of Bundy between Olympic and Lagrange. And you can see there the smoke coming out of the roof of this building. As I said, 53,000 square feet, 2 stories, but it is abandoned in the site of many previous fires. You can see all of the damage. Looks like we've got more than just a partial roof collapse here. There is still some active flame on the roof. LA City firefighters from the fire station here, multiple units have been fighting this fire for the better part of about 3 or 4 hours this morning. You can see they're actually on an adjacent roof, but they are doing a defensive fire operation.
Why do we have so many fires? Now it's Madrid, Spain. Fire reaches residential areas in Spain.
Ay, la desesperación de la gente que está perdiendo todo.
The information in the video shows an incident in Spain.
¡Hostia! ¡Hostia!
Agarró agua amarilla, plaza de peaje. Se está quemando la plaza de peaje de agua amarilla.
A forest fire fueled by unusually high temperatures has destroyed more than 500 hectares of land in eastern Spain. According to officials, around 180 people were evacuated from 2 most affected areas. Media reports suggest that the fire may have been caused by heat, strong winds, and low humidity.
¿Qué dices?
8 air units were deployed to fight the blaze alongside firefighters and military personnel. Efforts to contain the fire are ongoing as emergency teams work to control the spread.
Now France is underwater. Madrid is burning up. All of the European nations that were hit with massive flooding, they're still dealing with that. It's Thanks.
The information in the video shows an incident in Cannes, France. Early this morning, a sudden heavy rain flooded several districts of Cannes.
Look at this. Look at this.
Many residents captured the unexpected scenes on video as they woke up to find their streets submerged. Garbage bins and street furniture were seen floating through what had become rivers. Several cars were left stranded, stuck in the fast-moving water. Services have been dispatched to assist those affected by the flooding.
Big snowstorm in South Africa. So what? France's flooding is because of Storm Boris, which has just traveled all over so many European nations. The last it was hitting was Italy. And then it just, we're now going to go west and hit France. Spain on fire. Okay. Now, what season is it in South Africa? Anybody know? Is it the tail end of winter? But look at this snowstorm was very big. A lot of snow.
Hi, Mike.
The information in the video shows an incident in South Africa.
6:00 die oggend, 21ste September. Sneeuw het lekker geval in die aand. Sit nog steeds. En ja,
A heavy snowfall caused major disruptions in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province. Motorists were forced to spend their night in their cars as the country's main highway, the number 3, was covered with an unusually thick layer of snow.
School, snowmen. We are stuck. We are hungry since from last night. We are here. Please.
Roads in the area remain blocked, and traffic authorities have advised drivers to avoid traveling.
Vehicles are backed up, and yeah, we've been here since yesterday afternoon.
There are 2 graders on scene. They are trying to open.
Clear the roads and assist stranded.
You know, there's another possibility that they've done so much damage to the natural processes that the natural processes are out of whack, and they could be, because I remember reading this article and the quote of a physicist, which I wish I could remember verbatim, but he was saying that, you know, HARP operating throughout the world could end up causing so much chaos in the natural processes. And that chaos could continue throughout many, many years. It's only the insiders that know, but when I see all of those frequencies in weather fronts, in hurricanes, and all of the evidence that is left behind with the homes and the cars and fires. So, came across this yesterday. 5 countries where citizens feel least safe as crime and murders soar. What's number 1? I was a little surprised. Ecuador. Ecuador, where a lot of expats are, and one of my subscribers, Ecuador is number 1. Now, I don't think my subscriber who lives where she lives in Ecuador feels unsafe, but she has spoken, of what they need to do, what they need to avoid. Gang violence and homicides skyrocketed to nearly 50 per 100,000 residents in 2023. What are the other countries? South Africa and Liberia and Botswana and Chile. Don't worry. USA is on its way. I did get this email from my subscriber in Ecuador. This is year 2 of light rains. Ecuador has also been experiencing their fires, but she says light rains. So this is not normal for September, but they are turning power off for 9 hours a day. All week and even weekend. All areas have different schedules. We are off from 10 to 3 p.m. and 8 to 12 midnight. We'll hardly notice the nighttime, but sucks during the day. Thank goodness we have gas range. They can turn off the power, but I'll always have coffee. Although, come to think of it, I probably should pre-grind a little just in case. She hit send and just ran into the kitchen to start grinding. Yeah. Well, turning the power off. There are Americans who know that routine. Californians. And speaking about electronic warfare, spooks, airlines, pilots, and air safety officials. There's something wrong. Something wrong. Oh, you little shit, Wall Street Journal. I was able to access this, but what the article was saying, and I can't get to it now, GPS spoofing, hundreds of civilian pilots encounter each day electronic warfare, militaries using their electronic weapons are causing chaos in the sky. The alert turned out to be false, but illustrated how fake signals that militaries use to ward off drones and missiles are also sending the GPS in planes. Kind of crazy. That people used to get on a plane and, well, those who had a fear of flying, I'm not talking about them, but you never had to worry. At least I didn't. Now, I did wonder as I was reading this article if this is also just to scare the civilians from getting on a plane. They do want to make it so you can't travel. Khan Yunis, Gaza Strip. Imagine yourself living what these Palestinians are living, those who actually survived. Many have family members who have not survived. So all of the grief and then having to shuffle about wherever Israel tells them to go. We're not going to bomb you there. Well, then they bomb them. But Khan Yunis, whole lot of flooding.
هنا من الصبح اللي لقينا المية كلها الخيم بتشروت علينا والمية من الشوارع كلها نزلت علينا وغرقنا كلها والأولاد غرقوا ويعني الأكل المطبخ اللي بنعمل فيه أكل كله انطلى مية ما عرفناش ايش بدنا نسوي هذا أول الشتاء كيف لما تيجي الأيام الجاية.
Did you read what she was saying? It's they make these makeshift tents. The rains come, everything is soaked. Where they cook, it's soaked. Their mattresses are soaked.
من الصبح اللي لقينا المية كلها الخيم بتشروت علينا والمية من الشوارع كلها نزلت علينا وغرقنا كلها والأولاد غرقوا ويعني الأكل المطبخ اللي بنعمل فيه أكل كله انطلى مية ما عرفناش ايش بدنا نسوي هذا أول الشتاء كيف لما تيجي الأيام الجاية.
فراشي ميه وعفش ميه وكل الناس تضررت ما فيش لا خيام ولا شوادر وبنطالب حقوق الانسان والمؤسسات الدوليه الانسانيه انها تساعدنا وتقف معنا ويا ريت يعني تخلص هالحرب ونرجع بيوتنا احسن من الخيم يعني الخيم حتى يعني هي خيم استلمتها وانهارت وخش على فراشه وعلى اولادي الميه والمطر والسقعه.
Be very grateful for what you have. Because a whole lot of people are really having to endure a survival that many of us don't understand. Ah, yes, and the war. Look at the sky. Look at the sky. It's ionized. You can see by the green and red, all of the ripples, all of the microwaves. Lebanon.
It has not been called all-out war.
It's not been called an all-out war. And who gets to declare that it's an all-out war? You see the bombs dropping in Lebanon? You see that how many people have died? That's an all-out war. Those people see it as an all-out war. What do they, they see the destruction of their homes, civilians dead. You think they're saying to one another, well, at least it's not an all-out war.
Not yet, but it has looked more and more like it today as Israel pounded what it says were 1,300 Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. It was the deadliest day by far there in almost a year since Hezbollah sided with Hamas in the fallout from the October the 7th massacre. 500 Lebanese people were reported to have been killed, with 1,600 or more wounded, as we're about to see. Lebanon says civilians were hit. Fearing worse is to come, the United States is bolstering the 40,000 troops it already has in the Middle East. The Israeli Defense Forces say their airstrikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon were targeting weapon stores of rockets and other missiles, many they say housed in or near residential buildings. Israel had warned civilians to evacuate.
This is not Gaza, it's Lebanon. But the south of this country is starting to look and sound like a second front line. Israel says it's targeting Hezbollah positions. From dawn, the attacks have been relentless. But this is not solely a launch site for the militant group. It is home to hundreds of thousands of people. And they are dying under intense bombardment. The missiles began to fall in the early morning, shortly after a warning from the Israeli military to evacuate.
The IDF will engage in extensive, precise strikes against terror targets which have been embedded widely throughout Lebanon. We ask residents of Lebanese villages to pay attention to the message and warning published by the IDF and heed them.
Oh, thank you, IDF. Thank you. Thank you for telling us to move along. Just like the Palestinians, now it's the Lebanese. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I think 500 in Lebanon didn't get the message.
Thousands did heed the warning to leave, but there are few safe routes. Just beyond the south, two-way motorways were packed with traffic in only one direction. Most are heading for Beirut, where schools have been made into shelters. These are some of the people who fled north this morning as the bombing began. This is supposed to be a place of safety, but no one feels safe here now. Abu Ali and his family left their home first thing.
They started hitting the houses, and we said it's not a joke this time. It's not in the valleys or the mountains. They were hitting the civilian houses. We decided to leave, but all along the road they were hitting. We fled under bombardment.
Those living in the Bekaa Valley in the east were the next to be given evacuation orders, with 2 hours to leave before the bombardment began. This footage captures the moment a TV analyst was injured by a strike close to his home as he went on air. Tonight, the focus shifted to Beirut and a targeted strike aimed at Ali Karaki, one of the last surviving senior Hezbollah commanders. Hezbollah says that strike was not successful and Karaki is still alive. Tonight, this nation is braced for what else is to come. Emma Murphy, News at 10, Beirut.
Well,
all right, so there's more, and I'm going to drop the link. U.S. did give the green light to Israel. Go ahead, bomb the crap out of Lebanon, and we're even going to be sending more American troops over to you to help with your fight. Anyone who thinks that this is Israel's war and not the United States / Israel's war, you need to do some research. Now, all of the fires and the flooding and the economy and all buildings and dairy farms and bombs dropping, that will only intensify. Everything will get worse. If I'm wrong, I'd love to come on here and say, I was wrong. Everything stopped and it's wonderful. And it hasn't intensified. United Nations, their General Assembly meeting, don't know if you're aware of what is taking place, but first let me, the chaos when all of these leaders come to town. Oh, God. Okay. Here we go.
Right now at noon, breaking news from the east side. This is a live look at a fuel spill that has forced an evacuation at a nearby police precinct. What we know.
A fuel spill on the, well, it's mid. United Nations building is mid east side, not lower, not upper. A fuel spill. Where did that come from? Oh, well, we don't get to know in this broadcast.
Know about what caused the spill. First, though, gridlock in Midtown, the major traffic concerns surrounding the UN General Assembly. We'll tell you what you need to know to get around it all. Good afternoon. I'm Cindy Hsu, now on air and streaming on CBS News New York. Right now at noon, they start on the east side, where the high-level week at the UN General Assembly session is now underway. President Biden and other world leaders are on hand. This is making for several street closures, which are leading to traffic tie-ups in that area. Today, team coverage, Jessica Moore has a look at what's being discussed today, but we want to start with Shosh Bedrosian and the gridlock. Shosh?
So this entire broadcast is about the gridlock on the Upper East Side, or on the East Side. But they're all coming together to vote the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations. It opens pathways to new possibilities and opportunities. We have unlocked the door to our common future.
The Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations open pathways to new possibilities and opportunities. Je salue les trois accords historiques qui marquent un tournant vers un multilatéralisme et porté par ces accords à tous de la franchir.
He doesn't get into any of the details, but I am going to play a good portion of Celeste Salome's video that she posted on this. I suddenly started seeing all of these people talking about the United Nations, and yeah, goes on until the 27th. They're taking votes, and it all leads to that one world government. The summit of the future. Once in a generation, opportunity to enhance cooperation on critical challenges and address gaps in global governance, reaffirm existing commitments, including to the Sustainable Development Goals and the United Nations Charter, and move towards a reinvigorated multilateral system that is better positioned to positively impact people's lives. Strengthening of the United Nations system. Well, high-level event bringing world leaders together to forge a new international consensus on how we deliver a better present and safeguard the future. Sounds good, huh? We all know where this is going. Effective global cooperation is increasingly critical to our survival, but difficult to achieve in an atmosphere of mistrust, using outdated structures that no longer reflect today's political and economic realities. Thank you, Celeste. Did I put the link in? On the UN vote to take over the world. Okay. This should be circulated.
Hi, this is Celeste Solom from the Celestial Report, and today I have some very critical and very disturbing news for all of us. I was just monitoring the UN Summit for the Future, and despite opposition by communist, socialist, and fascist countries saying that the summit and the pacts, these legal instruments to take over the world, were not by global consensus and they opposed them. They did not have a, they did not believe that they wanted an amendment inserted into the various legal mechanisms that they would retain their sovereignty. North Korea, Iran, and Russia were all against it. They were pushing for a amendment in this Pact for the Future. Unfortunately, I have very sad news to share with you that in under 5 minutes, the UN passed all of its whole entire legal instruments to take over the world. So as of now, we have no idea. This will throw the state of the world in absolute chaos. If you need anything, I would do it today. Be prepared that they did pass the digital compact, which means that they will be going over to a digital currency. Our banks may be frozen. If you have any items you need, I would go do it today. Make sure that you're topped off on whatever you need to be topped off on. I'm not being alarmist. I have been covering the proceedings and the leading up to this since the middle of July. I've been doing it in the Lair of the Dragon, in the Color of Evil, and now the UN obliterates all boundaries. I knew this was coming because they basically were obliterating every boundary that God has established into our bodies, all the laws of nature, physics, chemistry, biology, time, space. They were at it. So actually this vote took place on April 8th, which was very interesting timing because they did it during the solar eclipse. Oftentimes evil people will do these things, like Haman in the Bible went to the astrologers and they picked this certain celestial pattern because it was propitious for the annihilation of the Jews. And whether you read the Bible or not, during COVID, they did the exact same thing. The scientists and technologists had to roll out the you know what on a certain day because of a certain alignment of stars and planets that would amplify what they were rolling out. Now, today, I do believe that it is the fall equinox. Why am I concerned about this critical decision by the United Nations to take over the planet on this particular day, because in the ancients, whether it's the ancient Egyptians, whether it's the occultists, and other various evil people, have believed that on the fall equinox is the gate to the gods. And the UN, by its decision overriding the different countries' belief that they wanted amendments to protect their sovereignty of their respective countries, they do believe that they are gods. And so this thing is going to slip really fast. If I'm a little bit rattled, I mean, I couldn't believe that in under 5 minutes they made this decision, even though the real decision was made on April 8th, the day of the solar eclipse. So what?
All right, so it's all moving along. I'm posting the link again. And I will post the link to the announcement on the United Nations website. And I will also post the link to James Corbett, who is also talking about what he calls the Death Pact. The link is in the chat. The United Nations Death Pact for the Globalist Future. Circulate. I don't know how soon things are going to heat up. Before the election, after the election, everything has been heating up. You know, the boiling frog. And, you know, when do we get to feel the loss of sovereignty? I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, if you have the finances to get things that you know that you need, get them now. Don't wait. Don't wait. Because our world is not so good. Really, not so good. But I do want to. Oh, God, it really gets to me when these people, there she is at the United Nations, Meryl Streep, speaks up for Afghan women and girls at the United Nations. So I was listening to this 2 minutes, wondering, hey, is she ever going to mention that everything turned against women and girls in Afghanistan when Russia and the United States interfered, and then, wow, that Afghan war. Oh, right. And the Taliban that we actually fund and gave an awful lot of money to. Oh, right. And we left all of our military equipment for the Taliban, and we actually recognized the Taliban as a legitimate organization of governance. Did she mention any of that? No.
The way that this culture, this society has been upended is a cautionary tale for the rest of the world.
How was it upended, Meryl? Why do so many people just gloss over, ignore, just like it didn't even happen? When we've destroyed countries, destroyed the lives of those who survived our military might, sent these people backwards when in the early 70s, for sure, I don't know exactly when it began to turn. I mean, women were doctors and professors and lawyers and politicians in Afghanistan. If you ever see these, the videos on Afghanistan in the 70s, you will see that it looks like a Western nation. Not anymore.
In the 70s, most of the civil servants were women, over half the teachers, doctors. There were women jurists, lawyers, in every profession. And then the world upended. And today, in Kabul, a female cat has more freedoms than a woman. A cat may go sit on her front stoop and feel the sun on her face. She may chase a squirrel into the park. A squirrel has more rights than a girl in Afghanistan today because the public parks have been closed to women and girls by the Taliban. A bird may sing in Kabul, but a girl may not, and a woman may not in public. This is extraordinary. This is a suppression of the natural law. This is odd.
That we helped get it there. But she's not going to mention that. Because, you know, American exceptionalism, moral superiority.
I feel that the Taliban, since they've issued over 100 edicts in Afghanistan, stripping women and girls of their education and employment, their freedom of expression and movement, they have effectively incarcerated half their population. And the international community, I believe, because the Taliban call themselves, I believe, Sunni, yes? The Sunni community has a special responsibility to, in some way, intervene on behalf of their women and girls. I feel that the international community as a whole, if they came together, could effect change in Afghanistan and stop the slow suffocation of an entire half the population who are incarcerated.
Yes, but it had nothing
The way that
to do with us. Nothing at all. I see nothing. We Americans really know how to do it. I'm going to play a few minutes of this nearly 4-hour video here. And Ron Johnson, I believe, is up there with Thomas Massey. Yeah, he has done a lot on the pandemic. Let's see. Effects. And here, it's another roundtable put on by Ron Johnson, American Health and Nutrition, a second opinion. I would think that most Americans now realize that our population is chronically ill. Our population is exceedingly sick, not just physically, but also mentally.
Food processing and healthcare industries that impact our current state of national health. Once we have described what has occurred, suggestions for steps we can take to put us on a better path will be discussed. As our panelists will detail, the current state of America's national health is not good. Even though America's healthcare system spent $4.5 trillion in 2022, or over $13,000 per person. Those who seriously question the current orthodoxy or offer alternative treatments and approaches are generally ridiculed, vilified, and canceled, with concerted effort made to destroy their reputations and careers. We all witnessed this during the pandemic as eminently qualified and respected doctors who had the courage and compassion to treat COVID patients using cheap, generic drugs were fired, sued, and either lost their medical licenses and certifications or had them seriously threatened. Unfortunately, this intimidation works, as most doctors remain silent in order to maintain their good standing in the medical establishment. The catalyst for this event was an interview I saw with Dr. Casey Means and her brother Callie. When it comes to nutrition, we all face the same daunting variety of opinions, guidelines, and diet recommendations. Dr. Means does an excellent job of simplifying the basic concept of how our bodies convert food to energy and how that miraculous process, and I want to underline that miraculous process, can and has been impaired. I'm grateful.
If you listen to this, see if they talk about genetically modified foods. A whole lot of people, we have had a whole lot of people talking about the pesticides, the herbicides. Okay. The red dyes, all of the added ingredients to virtually every food that is on a shelf in a supermarket for the Americans to buy is poison. But I very rarely hear they talk about genetically modified foods. And there's no way out. Our food supply has been taken over. And if it could ever get back to food that is actually nutritious for us, we're not going to be alive to see it. So, while I do think that these hearings are very good because they educate an awful lot of people, I hear things coming out of their mouths and I think to myself, no, it's not going to happen.
Grateful that she and her brother have been able to join us here today. I'm also very pleased that Robert Kennedy Jr. is here. His environmental advocacy connected him to mothers with autistic children.
Okay, so I'm posting the link again. Now, I am going to play this. Christine Anderson, the German MEP in the European Union. I just wish people would listen. I just wish people would listen.
Question everything your government is doing or saying or not doing or not saying. And do not only question and mistrust your government, most of all, you need to distrust the EU Commission. It's a hellhole. It's the headquarters of spreading fake news and disinformation. It's disgusting. You might have noticed the ones that have been trying to convince you to, know everything about this novel virus and how to fight it are the same ones that are now trying to tell you we're all going to die of climate change. Yeah. No, we're not. We are not. It's ridiculous what they're doing. This is just another scheme of getting as much money away from the taxpayers as possible. And once again, pumping it into globally acting corporations. That's what this is all about. On top of all of that, they want to get rid of your individual mobilities. They're coming after your cars and all of that. But nothing what they tell us we need to do to save the planet will actually save the planet, because it's ridiculous. But it will abolish freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. So please stop voting for the same parties and the same persons and the same people that got us in this mess in the first place. They're liars and they need to be run out in town.
They do need to be run out of town. But the only people who can do that are the people. Video coming out of Philly last night. It's kind of creepy. Street takeover. These kids don't seem to be afraid of the cops. These street takeovers have been going on for years. The police could have nipped it in the bud, but they didn't, because they want this chaos. And this was all by design. They are not migrants. They are mercenaries. These are not migrant hotels. These are military command centers. This is not an invasion. This is a military operation. Well, it's also an invasion.
Ask you shit. I'm not asking you for a second. I'm gonna please step. Don't ask me nothing. I'm gonna ask you to please step out. Oh what? I'm gonna ask you to please. Oh what? Or I'm gonna call the police. Oh, you call who the fuck you want to call? Go ahead. Hey, call the police for me real quick. Shit. Yeah. Call 911. Fuck you think you talking to? Okay, who you call? 911. Just call 911. Chump.
We'll walk out. We're leaving. We're leaving. We're leaving.
What the fuck you want to call?
Thank you, sir, for understanding.
You'll get what you're looking for fucking me. All of them.
I wish you touched me. I wish you touched me.
No, I wish you touched me.
I wish you touched me, sir. Can you please step out of the building? Step out of the building. Don't worry. Just call 911. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's no problem. Hey, you're in a private building. You're in a private.
Exactly. Stay in your motherfucking place. Chump.
This is America. This is treason. This is exactly. But see, these guys can walk into our building we pay for, but we can't. You want to understand what treason is, America? This is what's called treason, right here. This whole building has been renovated to house illegal aliens.
Yes.
We just came several blocks away from it. U.S. citizens sleeping in redundant, torn down tents. You got a 15-story building they renovated. We just walked in behind two illegal aliens, they look like they're from Venezuela. Mm-hmm. They get to walk in, and then we get accosted and yell at and curse that.
And then they call the police.
They call the police, and
shit.
We just walked in thinking, well, can I have some of this free shit?
Right.
Can I have some of it? You and I spent $1,000 at an Airbnb. Can I stay in one of those rooms for 3 days for free?
I'm glad to hear that people are finally calling it for what it is. It is treason. It is treason. It is treason. Americans, local, state, federal, your leaders are treasonous. It's in your face. Do you care? Chicago gangbangers rage against newly arrived Venezuelan migrants as Tren de Aragua moves in.
Go hell loud gangs to enter our country.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is gonna go up in smoke, it's gonna go up in flames.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Tren de Aragua gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled to new migrants in Chicago since 2022. And they aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings. I spoke to Tyrone Muhammad of Ex-Cons for Trump, who runs a street patrol and violence prevention program. He's gone straight since his days as an enforcer for the Gangster Disciples. And he said the situation is very tense on the South Side as turf battles between the local gangs and Venezuelan migrants heat up.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and then infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested. And when the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is gonna go up in smoke, it's gonna go up in flame, and it's gonna be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets, blacks against migrants.
Zach Massey did time in state prison with Tyrone Muhammad, although he's only 27. He's a leader on the streets and said he's disgusted by the money going to Venezuelan migrants at the expense, he says, of the African American community.
I finally actually talked to him on the translator app, and he told me all the things that he got going on, how they help him get a car, apartment, clothes, link. So it's just like, I just be looking at it like they ain't got no Social Security, no. Where they come from? He probably not even here legally.
They get right here, they get quick housing, quick funding, food, they get cars with no license. They can't even read English and stuff like that. So they get all these perks when they get here, and we still here starving. So what we gonna do about it? Are y'all gonna listen to our cries?
Corey Rogers was a Blackstone gang member for years. He drove us around the South Side and showed us areas where he said Tren de Aragua and other criminal gangs are setting up shop, and what he called showing the flag, which means brandishing their weapons in front of like a housing project.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now in this area. Right now, you don't see them because they come out at night. They said they took this courtway over probably about last week. He said it was 100 Venezuelans standing out in the front right here.
Terry, is it an abandoned building? How do they just take it over?
They just, when you take over something, you just stand outside, and that's called showing the flag.
What kind of guns?
Semi-automatics, anything you name, you're gonna see it on the street. These boys got so many big guns that if they're 150 pounds, the gun is bigger than them. I swear.
But they know how to handle it, right? They know it. Tell me about the fact that they're criminals, right? This is a criminal element. These aren't just a bunch of Venezuelans that walked over the border and used to be gardeners back home, right?
Right. They come from the gangland. They come from rougher gangs than us.
One gang member who only gave his name as David on a particularly dangerous drug dealing corner on the South Side did not hold back when he talked about the influx of criminal gangs from other countries into Chicago.
The real issue is that America has allowed gangs to enter our country. Gangs that they would consider terrorist groups that are formed here. We are terrorist groups if we're in a gang. They let terrorists in our country.
The Reverend Corey Brooks also said to me he's disgusted with Democratic policies and said that Black Lives Matter, for example, has never reached out to help him or anyone else trying to improve conditions on the South Side.
Chicago is a blue city, and Illinois is a blue state. There's no doubt about it that the majority of our neighborhood, they're going to continue to vote Democrat until they wake up. The good news is that there are a lot of people who are responding and waking up and saying, listen, we're not going to take this. We're not going to stand for this. We're going to vote differently. And they're now accepting some of the values that I hold dear and some of the values that the conservative Republican Party holds so dear. And so for a lot of people.
It's like nails on a blackboard, man. You're glad that you think things are going to change. You're waiting around. People will vote differently, vote for the Republican, Trump. You think things are going to change. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like doing this for how long? Nothing's going to change. And boy, is this going to heat up. I think it's going to heat up more and more as we get closer to the election. And what will they do? Will we have an election? There's also that possibility that we won't.
People, it's not about the person, it's about the policies that we're fed up with. And as a result, I think this is going to be the largest amount of people who have voted for a Republican president in Chicago that we've seen.
Okay. The border has been an issue for decades. Doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican. Doesn't matter what team is in power. The Republicans never did anything. The Democrats never did anything. And all they had to do was enforce immigration law. Johnson treat. I hear these dogs start, and it sounds like they're fighting or something. It's very unnerving. Anyway, Johnson, yes, Speaker of the House, Republican, shrinks again as Congress reaches shutdown deal without proof of citizenship. SAVE Act. The Republicans don't do anything for the American citizens. They just don't. So Mike Johnson Sunday unveiled a 90-day Band-Aid to avoid yet another government shutdown. Every friggin' year we go through this, the government's going to shut down. Oh my God. We're going to have to vote on a continuing resolution. Oh my God. Every year we go through this. Okay. Nothing changes. Government shutdown, which fails to include the SAVE Act, which would have prevented illegal migrants from voting. Oh, but here you heard that man talk about the Republican policies. That's what we need. Yeah. Okay. The SAVE Act, which would have required proof of citizenship at the time of voter registration. Oh my God. Instead of playing chicken over the key issue of election integrity, The new continuing resolution, negotiated by both parties, would keep the government funded at current levels through December 20, setting the stage for yet another funding fight before Christmas reset. Oh my God. So playing chicken with the SAVE Act. Not caving, which he did, not caving. It would have pressed the Democrats, pressured them. Oh my God. We're not going to vote for this because the SAVE Act is in it, which would have exposed the Democrats for actually wanting illegal migrants to vote. Many are already registered, by the way. You know, that DMV that they get, that license, the permit, whatever, they register to vote. Do you see how gone your country is? Sorry, but it is. All right, so yeah, according to the Treasury Department, the U.S. has spent around $6.3 trillion in fiscal year 24, which ends September 30. 6.3 trillion. Oh boy. So Johnson wrote, while this is not the solution any of us prefer, it is the most prudent path forward under the present circumstances, adding, as history has taught and current polling affirms, shutting the government down less than 40 days from a fateful election would be an act of political malpractice. Yeah. It is such a joke that it was actually Thomas Massie who spoke rather eloquently about the joke. So, non-citizens added to states' voter rolls through DMV, even after admitting lack of U.S. citizenship. No, it doesn't matter. Do you see why the people needed to get involved? Well, I'm going to play Thomas Massie now. This was the video that I was talking about that I thought was included in a live stream maybe about a week ago, but it wasn't. But yeah, listen up. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater.
And I would call on Mr. Massey. And I would call on Mr. Massey.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing. It's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. You know, we've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether
they should always do separate bills, but they don't. You know, so for this, the omnibus, the budget, they'll always stick in an awful lot, hoping that it's going to get passed. Why not vote on each, separate issue separately. Instead, they stick in all of this stuff that they want passed, regardless of what team it is, and then they fight about it, and then something gets knocked out, like the SAVE Act. A Republican knocks out SAVE Act, which would require proof of citizenship for voting. Yeah. Go with the Republicans. A whole lot of Americans need their head examined.
Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control. We never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state and Republicans want to grow the military industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending. And this doesn't do anything about the addiction at all. So let me touch on one point too here that I think is important. Is, a couple years ago, or a summer and a half ago, I suppose now, we did something where we allowed the debt limit to be increased. But as a condition of that, we said, if you do a CR that lasts past April 30th, everything's going to get cut 1%. And that, to me, seemed like at least a little tinge of fiscal responsibility was creeping in. But now I notice that this CR, instead of going 1 year and giving us time to do the 12 appropriations bills, is going to go 6 months. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen because this goes 6 months. Number one, it ends in March 28th, on March 28th. Well, the automatic cuts happen on April 30th if the CR went past that. So that is exactly why the speaker chose a 6-month CR, is so we don't have even the chance, a threat to this town. It's a threat of a 1% cut. We don't want to even, this is like T-ball. The 1% cut is on the tee and Republicans won't even swing at it. So instead, we're going to do a 6-month CR instead of a 1-year CR. That sets up another crisis next spring where we can do another pretend fight sometime around March. And that fight it'll be the same fight regardless of who wins the presidency and who's in charge of the Senate and the House. And we're basically going to get pretty much the same result. But that's 6 months from now. In the meantime, we can kick the can down the road. All of these things that we've exposed and all of these hearings are going to continue to get funded. But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no, it actually happens. There always is a bright, shiny object, a bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act, it's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy and the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get to save it. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. That is not going to have this. I mean, I hate to break this to you. I mean, the Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave. Is it a fight worth having? Absolutely, it's a fight worth having. Make those Democrats say they want illegals to vote. Make them take that vote as many times as you can. And then make them go to the ballot box in November. But that's what it is political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater. And with that, I yield back.
Regardless of what you think of Thomas Massey, everything he just said, Americans really need to listen to and think about. And how many times throughout the 13, going on 14 years of my doing this, have I said these congressional hearings are theater for the American public. They put them on to make the American people think that they actually do something in Congress, but nothing comes from any of these hearings. So there you had a representative Congress saying, yeah, nothing, it's all political theater. And the Republicans are right with the Democrats. And yeah, I'm just going to play this for entertainment value.
Kamala Harris, you are as fake as press-on nails, and I can see right through you. Let me help you out with something, because maybe somebody must not have told you. On TV and on every interview, giving the same tired answer. So let me just help you out. When you are asked a question, why don't you try answering the question? People are not stupid. We can tell when you're dancing around the issue instead of answering the question. When you're asked, are people better off now or during Donald Trump's presidency? When you're asked about the border or your policies on immigration, answer the question. We don't care about your middle class upbringing. We don't care that your mama had to save up to buy a house. We don't care about your summer job at McDonald's. We don't care about the lawns of the neighborhood that you lived in and how everybody took care of their lawn. That does not matter to me, and it doesn't matter to anybody else. I want you to answer the question. Because if people, my mind is already made up too, Kamala, because I can see right through you and I know that you fake. But for somebody else whose mind is not made up, let me just help you out. Answer the question so that they can decide between you and your opponent. I don't know if you're just trying to paint him as the villain and try to skate by to be like you're the hero or a nice person. We don't care about that, because being a hero and voting for the nice person is not what pays the bills. You understand what I'm saying? We can see through you. And that fake black accent that you keep doing, girl, you need to stop, because you know good and well that you ain't got no black accent. You know good and well that you was born from San Francisco and in Canada. Where you get that black accent from? Stop doing that, trying to be relatable. This does not make you relatable. It makes you look fake. And those of us like me, we can see through that. We can see through that. We can see through every interview that you do, that instead of answering the questions that are on the minds of the millions of American people who have the power to elect you to the highest office in the land, you're dancing around the issue. And you want to talk about how you was born a middle-class kid and how your mother had to save up to buy a house. I don't care, Kamala. So just to recap, stop dancing around the issue. Answer the question. If you're going to do an interview, answer a question that you are asked at the interview.
So, yeah, I have noticed for a very long time, decades, politicians never answer the question. But this one makes it very obvious. So, and all of, oh, wow, she got 47 million after, the debate with Donald. And this is a close race. If that's true, Democrats, and I'm a former Democrat, walked away before walk away. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you? Now, I could say the same thing about those on the right. But really, my former tribe, do you not have a brain cell operating up here anymore? And it's infuriating. But it also happens with ordinary Americans. When you need to resolve some conflict, or, you're in the midst of a serious conversation, you ask a question, they don't answer it. It's very, very annoying. But it makes people look like they are not very intelligent. Just as this one presents herself as not very intelligent. Now, why is it important that this one is doing this? Because we know everything is orchestrated, right? We know that it's orchestrated that she's not answering any of the questions and sounding like an idiot, because this is part of the ritual to humiliate Americans and keep them on the low road. We haven't progressed. We've actually declined, and a whole lot now are kept on that low road by having to face these people who are really ordinary, walking the low road. And I feel badly for the very young who might look up to Kamala and they're looking up to someone who is unworthy of your attention, of your respect. God, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing? Google told you she's intelligent? This is a new world where the most powerful players are no longer the bankers, but politicians, their deficits and debts. Today, unemployment is up to 4.2%. Inflation's down to a few tenths above 2. Okay. This is not an article that I would ever read. Why? Well, the title says it all. Eric Peters, One River Asset Management, unfortunately, doesn't really understand that bankers are the most powerful players, the central bankers of the world. Politicians? Eric doesn't know they're just puppets doing the bidding of the central bankers. I see articles like this and I'm amazed that somebody at this point in September 2024 could actually think that and then actually put it on paper. So I'm just going to just read the headlines and then we will close for the night. Layoffs. Wow, there's a lot of them. A lot of them. Do you think these people getting laid off from the tech industry, tech jobs, from pharma will find a job after they're laid off? Good luck. Good luck. So here's a comprehensive list of 2024 tech layoffs, which let's just open it and take a quick gander. This year has already seen 60,000 job cuts across 254 companies. 60,000. All right, I'll post the link. You can look at it yourself. See, things are going to really explode. More cut staff, biopharma. IBM starts new round of layoffs. WWU, Western Washington University, layoffs. Bristol Myers Squibb axes 79 more in New Jersey. More than 300 layoffs. John Deere in Waterloo. And United Automobile Workers, General Motors. General Motors laying off an awful lot. Cisco lays off hundreds. And it just goes on. Wells Fargo announces another round of layoffs. Yellow announces layoffs, closures of facilities in Minnesota. Atlantic Music Group. It's easy enough for anyone, just put in layoffs. And I filtered this for just this week. Paramount Global, Boeing, because of the strike. Stillwater mine workers. $2,600 CarePoint employees. AI and robotics is taking over an awful lot of jobs. So, and FedEx is confident that their higher prices will be accepted. Black Friday, Christmas. A whole lot are going to be experiencing a very different Black Friday and Christmas this year. Guarantee it. And those who still have money, well, they'll send the presents, right? But it's not about confidence. It's about whoever has money and they want to send something, you're upping your price. They'll pay it. It's not confidence. General Motors recalls nearly 500,000 vehicles due to faulty brake fluid. Wow, that's a lot of cars. Ford recalls nearly 150 top-selling vehicles. Got a lot of people who are having to recall foods, medicines, vehicles. Chipotle starts replacing workers with robots to bypass California's minimum wage laws. Well, this was coming regardless of California's increase in the minimum wage. And I do want to, I was listening to this earlier today. Property taxes. It's a scam, as everything is in our country. It's a giant scam. Take a listen. You know, those assessments of your property value, it's a scam. So I can't believe the properties around here where I live, which is a very modest area. A mobile home is going for over $350,000 on like maybe a half acre. Okay. But what happens when your property values go up? You got to pay more property taxes. Scam. All right. Thank you for showing up. Do what you can to educate, to help those in need, live honestly and speak honestly. If you think we can get anywhere without that, you're very wrong. You're very wrong. So, we just continue to go on. That's unfortunately that's the only choice we have. A whole lot of us feeling like crap every day. We just keep going on. We support one another as best we can. And we help out in our communities. And on that note, I just say be safe. Be ready for anything. Anything. The economy, the plug being pulled, more severe weather, more fires, hurricane, loss of a job, inflation skyrocketing from the inflation that we're already having to suffer. More violence, for sure. More attacks on Americans. More random attacks. It's not fear-mongering. It's just be very aware and be ready for anything. All right, guys. Hope to see you tomorrow night. And good night and good luck. Ciao.